My name is Ben Oj, and I'm the lead pastor here at NewSpirit.Church. I want to talk to those of you who feel like you're stuck in the grind. You do almost the same thing every day, 90% or more. You wake up and you do your morning routine. Then you go to work. You put in all those hours. Maybe you go to school and put in all those hours. Then you come home. You take care of the pets, the kids, the family. You have that evening routine, and then you watch something on TV. Maybe you tap something on your phone. If you're like my family, you're doing both of those at the same time. Anyone tells you, tapping, which screen are you watching? I don't know. I'm just in a routine right now. Don't interrupt my flow, Dad. And then, hey, it's bedtime. It's time to start getting ready for that. And I just did the same thing today that I did yesterday, and the same thing this week as last week. How many of you feel like you're in that movie Groundhog Day? Has anyone seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Old people? Okay. Yeah, here's what happens. So this guy, he's stuck in the same day over and over and over again. And not only is it mundane and routine, he's actually not accomplishing much. You're Bill Murray. You're waking up the same life day after day, week after week, and you just don't have a lot to show for it. And you thought, man, by the time I was this age, I thought I would have more accomplished, that I'd be doing more, that I'd be getting more done, that life would be a little bit more meaningful, more exciting, more impact, more influence. I thought that that this would amount to more. But you're feeling like, I'm just in a grind. I'm in a rhythm that I can't get out of. It's just the same old thing every day. I work really, really, really hard, but not a lot to show for it. Raise your hand if you're with me. You're just in that grind. Okay, the rest of you, I don't know what you're going to do for the rest of the sermon, because I'm talking to those of you who are with me in that grind. I have a preteen. He's just worried, racked with he says, Dad, I'm worried that when I grow up, life's going to be really boring. Like, you just kind of do the same things every day, and then it's just a really boring life. And I said, no, son, it's awesome being a grown-up, because I'm free to do whatever I want. It's actually really exciting. Like, think of this. For dinner, I could make baked potato or mashed potato. Like, isn't that exciting? Like, I have so many choices. And I said, okay, think of this, son. On this Saturday, I could either change the oil in the car or I could winterize the yard. Like I'm free to do whatever I want. This is not a grind. This is exciting. On my way to work, I can just listen to whatever podcast I want. True crime or This Daily Life. Like, how exciting is it to be an adult? Like, he's just like, okay, I don't feel any better than I did a minute ago. And sometimes our kids are watching us and saying, is that all there is? Not only to life, but to being a Christian. Like, I'm looking at my parents as the model of faith. And I would have thought it'd be really exciting to be like a Christian and like you're going to lead a really exciting and cool life. But you're kind of just doing the same thing as all the non-Christians are doing. You're just working and grinding and hustling and not a lot to show for it. And you repeat the same process. Like, the kids are worried. Is this all that is going to amount? Am I going to amount to all this? Like, that's it. That's all I'm going to be when I grow up, and just grind every day and have very little to show for it. And some of us, you're not stuck in that stage of life with kids. You are the kid. Like, you go to school every day, and you just 9 to 5. I'm studying and I'm just going through the motions and grind of studying. And some of you, you're out of both those stages. You're retired, but you're still just doing the same old things every single day. 90% of what you do is just routine. And I bet that you just feel stuck in some way with what you're doing day after day. You believe with all your heart. You pray with all your heart. You want to have faith with all your heart for big things from God. But you just don't feel like, even in faith, you're kind of stuck in that grind. You're stuck in routine. Like, your prayers, they don't feel effective. You're like, I want to pray powerfully and things to happen, but I'm just kind of stuck in a rhythm of faith. It's the same old thing, day after day, week after week. You read the Bible, it doesn't really speak back to you. You go to church, you sing the songs, but God still kind of feels distant as you do it. Everything feels routine, almost boring. I don't know, sometimes we don't try to make church boring, but we just kind of fall into a routine, and you go to it, and it's just like, I just kind of do the same thing all the time. And your kids look back at your faith, and they say, gosh, is that really all it is? It looks kind of boring. When I look at you, I just kind of want to fall asleep. It looks like a grind. I don't want to be a part of it. And most of us don't get stuck because we stopped believing in God. We get stuck because we stopped expecting big things from God. We traded in our purpose for a pattern that's predictable. We traded in our risk for a safe routine. We traded in our extraordinary life that God offered us for an ordinary life. That's perfectly safe, a lot of risk, a lot of comfort, ordinary. And so we want to talk about this today. Today we're talking about the daily grind versus the divine purpose. And this is part of a new series we're starting called Elisha. And I hope that this series causes you to stop wondering, what if? I don't want to be left with that question. I want to be asking the question, what's next? Not what if. And that's where we're going in this series with Elisha. And we're talking about Elisha because we just wrapped up a series on Elijah. Those are different people. It's not a mispronunciation. In 1 Kings chapters 17 and 18, we read about the life and ministry of the prophet Elijah. And we saw in our first sermon on that a man of God is like Elijah. He stands firm, he leans hard, he walks fast, he prays deep, he shines bright. That was the first part of chapter 18. We saw next that only God delivers what false gods can only promise. That was that epic showdown with Elijah and the false prophets of Baal. And then in chapter 18, we saw that effective prayer believes before it sees, kneels before it reigns. We talked about that last week as we wrapped up Elijah. And that's there's actually one more section that talks about Elijah before it gets to Elisha. And it's chapter 19, the first whole section of chapter 19 of 1 Kings. And in that chapter, Elijah flees to the desert to avoid a death warrant. Jezebel says, for what you did, I'm going to find you and kill you. And he's depressed and he runs and he just says, Lord, take my life. I don't even want to live anymore. And God comes to him, takes away his depression, puts him back on his feet, back in the game. And I wanted to preach on this so badly. There's so many great sermons that can come out of that. The only problem is I've already preached like 3 great sermons off of that one passage in the last couple of years. The most recent one was a series we just wrapped up called Before You Give Up. It was part 4. We talked about how can I feel this empty when I've been doing everything right. And we focus on that whole part of chapter 19. If you missed it, go back on YouTube and watch it. But if you were here for this, 2 years ago, we did a series called Peace of Mind. And in chapter 3, we talked about hope for depression. And then we talked about Elijah's depression. And then in part 5 of that series, we talked about how to beat burnout. We talked about Elijah's burnout. We've talked about this so many times. So if you forgot or if you missed it, go on YouTube, find our sermons neatly categorized, watch or rewatch, and just kind of put this 1 Kings chapter 19, the first part was Elijah and his depression. Just kind of put that right here where we are, because we've talked about it a few times, and we're just kind of going through 1 Kings last month and this month, and so I just wanted to show you how this all fits together. If you see one of our vertical videos, would you just subscribe to the channel and then comment on the video and click like? Just if you interact with that, it actually puts the video out to more and more people, even friends and people who know and follow you. You're actually doing evangelism when you support that ministry, so thank you for that. But today, we are answering the question, how does God turn your daily grind into a divine purpose? We're going to see in the story of Elisha, these 3 things. First, God calls you right where you are. Second, that you can't take a new mantle and keep your old plow. Third, you're going to see that the path to power runs through service. And the bottom line is this, is that you can be like Elisha. He wasn't special. He put on his pants one leg at a time, just like you do. You can be like Elisha. Answer the call, burn the plow, and serve God's plan for your lives. This sermon's for anyone who just feels stuck in the grind. Maybe you didn't raise your hand. You're stuck in faith. You're just stuck somehow, just going through the motions at work or at home or with God. You're wondering, is this all that there is? And in this, if we stay in this grind and without God's direction, then we're just going to live busy lives without any intention. A lot of people have done that and come before us and just kind of lived and did the grind and passed away, and that was their life. I don't want that to be you. I don't want the earth to miss out on you fulfilling your calling, answering the call he has for you. The earth is going to be so much better. Your family, your community, everyone's going to win when you answer the call of God. Everyone's going to miss out when you don't. I hope you'll decide to be like Elisha, answer the call, to burn the plow, and to serve God's plan for your lives. If you brought your Bible, open them to 1 Kings chapter 19. We're going to be in verse 19 in just a moment, but let me tell you kind of where we are with the big story of the Bible. We're in the 800s BC, before Christ. This is called the Two Kingdoms period because the kingdom of Israel was united under King Saul and David and Solomon, and then it had a split. You had the southern kingdom of Judah, the northern kingdom of Israel. They kept the name Israel, and their kings up north were even worse than the ones in the south. They had, up to this time that we're in, 18 straight evil kings. Now this time there's an evil queen. Her name's Jezebel, and she's serving with the evil king Ahab. These are times of idolatry. If you notice in this map, all the surrounding nations, they all have their own gods, and Ahab and Jezebel say, yeah, those are good. Just add them to the pantheon. Let's worship all these gods, cover our bases. There's times of intense idolatry, immoral living. Nobody's obeying God. It's nothing like today, guys. Nothing. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
There's a lot to see here, a lot we can learn. But in history, God would raise up a spiritual leader to stand up for him in times of intense idolatry. We see this cycle over and over. Things get really bad. God raises up a person to stand up for him in critical times. I wonder if he's calling you to be that person today in the times we're living in. Idolatry, immoral living. Is he calling you to stand up for him in your schools, in your families, in your workplaces? What's he calling you to be for him in this context he's put you in, where you're just surrounded by idolatry and wickedness all over the place? In the Two Kingdoms period, God raised up Elijah. We learned about that a few weeks ago. And Elijah was called the power prophet, not back then, but now we call him the power prophet. He calls down fire. He raises the dead. He's making food for widows. It's incredible, the powerful miracles he's performing for God. And then, at the end of Elijah's life, he uses Elijah to stir up Elisha's heart, who's going to be the next prophet. And through Elijah, God's just going to call Elisha. He's going to stir up his heart. Something in him is dead. Elijah's going to stir up something and make him come alive in God. Answer that call. And I wonder if God's going to use me to do the same thing in you today. He's going to use this old prophet, this old man, to stir up something in you, the next generation, the next person, the next prophet in your workplace, in your family. Something's going to be stirred up in you, and it's not God speaking directly to you, but using me to stir up something in you to stand up for him in this generation and in these times. Do you see what's going on in the Bible and how it's going on today as well? Do you see it? I'm going to keep showing it to you for those of you who aren't seeing it. But we're going to be in 1 Kings 19. We're asking, how does God turn your daily grind into divine purpose? First thing we see is that God calls you right where you are. Look at the Bible with me. So Elijah went and found Elisha, son of Shaphat, plowing a field. Can I just pause and say I'm really glad my parents didn't name me Shaphat? Not a son of Shaphat. Whoever named him that, I'm really sorry. Don't always get your names from the Bible. There were 12 teams of oxen in the field, and Elisha was plowing with the 12th team. Elijah went over to him and threw his cloak across his shoulders and then walked away. I want you to pause. Just notice. Elisha is doing the most ordinary thing imaginable. He's plowing a field. Talk about daily grind. You think your grind's bad. He's plowing a field with oxen. That is a grind. So what can we see here? Who is Elisha? Is he the son of a priest?
No.
Son of a king?
No.
Son of a rancher?
Maybe.
Yeah. He's not. He doesn't come from a great, glorious background. There's nothing wrong with being a rancher. It's just he's an ordinary guy. He's not from nobility or anything. He's the son of a rancher, and he's living a pretty comfortable life. He's got a good job. He works hard. He's not poor. And to have one team of oxen to plow a field, that's a significant investment. That's even true now. If you're going to have 2 draft animals, you're You got a thing going. It's not cheap. But imagine having 12 teams of oxen for your fields. That's like if you had 12 John Deere tractors. Those of you who have one tractor know that's expensive. But if you have 12, not only is that expensive, but you've got more than a field. You've got more than a farm. You've got an operation. This is a plantation. This is an industry you're running when you've got 12. So they probably have a big house. They probably got big barns, lots of workers, lots of food and storage. I don't want to say they're rich, but they're not doing bad for themselves. But Elisha, he's not a typical rich kid just kind of spending his days on the couch eating chips. No, he's behind the plow. He's working hard for his father's business. He's in the grind, doing what 99% of people have done for all of history. They're grinding. They're working hard. He's out of bed at dawn. He's in bed at dusk. He's looking at the same scenery every day. If you've ever worked on a field or farm, you're not a lot of variety in what you're doing. You're probably growing the same things, looking at the same plants all the time. And if you're behind the plow, what are you looking at?
The oxen.
Oxen butts. Like there's two butts right there. You're just looking at them all day. Like talk about, not only is he grinding, it's monotony. That's all I'm looking at. And if you think about it, what team was he on? What number?
12.
12. How many teams were ahead of him?
11.
How many oxen butts were ahead of him? There's a lot. He's not even looking at his two. He's looking at like 11 teams of oxen and their butts and people like that, just butts all around. Ahead of him, all day, every day. It's monotony. It's a grind. And that's in your study Bible. If you read it, I'd just read it. It might be in there. But some of you feel the same way. Like, I feel like I'm looking at a bunch of butts every day when I go to work. And I feel like I'm in the grind. And I'm just so tired of the monotony. And I'm not accomplishing much. And was this really all my life's going to amount to? And that might be what Elisha is feeling. Some of you, you're like changing the same diaper every day. You're literally looking at someone's butt. You're just changing a diaper. Like, man, this is monotony. I'm just taking care of these kids all day, every day. Some of you, you're studying for another test. I just got done with a test. There's another test. I'm studying again. It's a grind. You're at work. You're trying to meet another sales quota. You're trying to just keep the operation going. You're trying to just grind to pay the bills, pay down the debt. This is just monotony. You're doing the same things all day, every day. It's a grind. And it's easy to lose your passion when you're just staring at that screen all day, staring at those butts all day. It's just you're staring at the same thing all day, every day. It's monotony. That's where Elisha is. But notice that God called Elisha right where he was, and God stepped right into his work day and called him to something great. Elijah, he didn't give like a big speech. And Elisha didn't attend a worship night where he felt God's presence in this magical place. He didn't go on a spiritual retreat up high on a hill with a great speaker and great food and comfort, great weekend. This is just in the monotony. He's doing the plowing, and all of a sudden God's calling him to greatness. While he's still holding the plow, while he's still grinding dirt into dust, he's called right where he is. Friends, it's the same with you. You just got done with a very routine week. Nothing special happened last week. Nothing special is happening next week. You're just in the monotony. You're in the routine right now. Even this church service, it's not a special church service. It's just the same time every Sunday morning. This isn't a worship night, a spiritual retreat. This is part of your routine. God's calling you right here in the monotony, in the routine, in the middle of the grind to greatness. You don't need a spiritual retreat to hear that call. You don't need the magical mountaintop, the special speaker, and the great thing that he's calling you right where you are in the mundane, in the ordinary, while you're still holding the plow, while you're in the middle of your work week, weekend, regular stuff. He's calling you right where you are. To pick up something extraordinary, to drop something ordinary. Right where you are, he's calling you. Drop something ordinary, pick up something extraordinary. He did it to Elisha. That's what he's doing to you as well. You're saying, but Ben, I'm not special. I'm just a regular, everyday, normal guy. But notice that Elijah walked past 11 teams of oxen and plowers to Elisha. Elisha was the 12th. He wasn't the first. He wasn't the leader. He was the last one. He was probably the most ordinary guy. in that field. Elisha skipped over 11 to find the 12th. I want you to notice that God often chooses the one at the back of the line to lead the ones at the front. He chooses the humble to lead the proud. He chooses the least to become the greatest. This is the pattern we see. Yeah, you're not from somewhere special. You might not be someone special in your company or in your family history, but God skips over all those important people and goes right to you in the field and calls you to something extraordinary. And in this church, I've seen someone who's just a concrete finisher, lead a worship team, pretty ordinary grind to come, like just moving that concrete day after day. I'm just staring at concrete. Maybe a guy's butt over there. I don't know. Just staring at the same thing. And I called it greatness. I've seen God call someone who's just a plumber, regular everyday plumber, to lead a production team for God's glory and greatness. I've seen God call someone who's just a stay-at-home mom, nothing special, to lead an outreach. God calls ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And imagine what God can do through you.
Yes.
Even if you're just an ordinary person, He can do extraordinary things in you and through you. God's pattern is to meet people where they are. Think about Moses. Where was he when God called him through the burning bush?
Desert.
Tending sheep. He was in the middle of shepherding. That's the grind. Where was Peter and Andrew when Jesus called out to them? Hey, come follow me. What were they doing?
Fishing.
That's the grind. They're doing their job. What was Matthew doing when Jesus called him?
Tax collector.
Collecting taxes. Like, there's nothing more grinding than taxing. And whatever grind you're going through, I believe Jesus is calling you to an extraordinary life, whatever ordinary thing that you're grinding through. Don't worry about what everyone else thinks. Everyone in that field saw a rich kid plowing his daddy's field, but God saw a prophet yet to be. Everyone sees an exhausting mom changing diapers, but God sees a world changer in you. Everyone sees a dad who just clocks in and clocks out and tries to make money for his family. God sees the next spiritual leader for that family, for that church, for this ministry, for this community. He sees the next great spiritual leader. Here's an example. I have an uncle, and he'd be the first to admit that he's the most ordinary person on the planet. He failed 2 grades in school, didn't get his diploma until 20. He's been in the armed forces. That's what normal guys do after failing a couple grades in high school. They just go to the army. He served in the armed forces. Great. Then he went into police work, got fired from police work, became an EMT. That didn't work out. Left that. He ran a video rental store. That went out of business. He became a repair mechanic for fast food ice cream machines. Okay, talk about grind, right? Those things never work. You're always fixing those things. Have you ever gone to McDonald's and had their ice cream machine work? No. There's someone grinding, fixing it all day, every day. That's his job. In the grind, doing regular grind work stuff. He's not smart. He's not special. Just a regular guy. And I've never heard my uncle say one religious thing, except swear words. He's not religious at all. Like, he's just a guy who fixes machines and works hard for his family. But one day, he told me this. A pastor from the church down the road asked him to speak to a bunch of kids. Like, me? Do you know who I am? I'm just an ordinary guy. And then last week he texted me. He said, so apparently I've been promoted to Sunday school teacher. Like, I spoke to them like he wanted me to, and now I'm promoted to Sunday school teacher. Like, does he know who I am? Ben, you're going to have to tell me what to teach these kids. I have no idea. I said, I'm going to point you in the right direction, but there's a reason he's called you to this. It's not because you know a bunch of Sunday school lessons. It's because you're the next spiritual leader for this next generation of kids. And his wife said that him teaching Sunday school, not on her bingo card. That was a literal quote. Not on my bingo card. Him, I know him. I would it's crazy that, Pastor, you would have chosen him. God, you would have chosen him. That's God calling someone out of the ordinary and into the extraordinary. And let me just tell you, one time, this same uncle who was called from something ordinary to extraordinary. It's the same uncle who used police-issued handcuffs to handcuff me, your pastor, to a tree at Green Lake when I was 10, leave me there till I cried. That same guy was called into ministry, but to kids. Some of them 10. Okay, if God can do that, what can he do in you and through you? Like, if he can do this to that guy, imagine the possibilities for you. Like, that's what I'm saying. And There's so much promise in you, and I hope you see it. Believe me, if God can call him, he can call you. Stop waiting for someday when I'm free. You're going to be in this grind a long time. You're not going to be freer someday. He's calling you right where you are. He's calling you today, whatever field you're in, whatever plow you're holding, he's calling you to drop something ordinary, to pick up something extraordinary, answer his call. I believe God's about to interrupt your routine. He's about to meet you in your grind, where you already are, to call you to do something great. Do you believe it?
Yes.
Yes.
Number 2, you can't take a new mantle and keep the old plow. So what's a mantle? It's not a word we use often, but a mantle is a cloak, and it goes over your shoulders. I have a picture here. Back then, this mantle was worn by a spiritual leader, like a prophet. Someone important is wearing a mantle. And when Elijah put his mantle onto Elisha, that's like a king putting his crown onto a prince. It's an important transfer of power, transfer of authority, spiritual authority, saying, you're next. Here's the mantle of the prophet. It's now on your shoulders, Elisha. The calling and authority that God gave to Elijah was being draped on the shoulders of Elisha, right in that field. A plow, on the other hand, not all of us are farmers, not ranchers. A plow is a tool you use to grind up a field and break up old, muddy, hard soil into something that's plantable. You attach it to 2 draft animals like horses or oxen or something, and then the farmer, rancher, he kind of gets behind it and takes hold of the plow and puts it in the ground and aims it in the right direction. And I want you to see that Elisha had to choose one or the other. Do I keep holding this plow, or do I take hold of the new mantle? He's only got 2 hands. He can't hold on to both the plow and the mantle. Look at verse 20 with me. It says, Elisha left the oxen standing there, ran after Elijah, and said to him, first, let me go kiss my father and my mother goodbye, and then I'll go with you. Elijah replied, go on back, but think about what I've done to you. So Elisha returned to his oxen and slaughtered them. He used the wood from the plow to build a fire to roast their flesh. He passed around the meat to the townspeople, and they all ate. We see in the Old Testament that whenever someone gets faithful, the animals start to shudder. Oh, is he going to sacrifice me? There's a sacrifice coming. There always is. Why are these people always getting faithful? I'm worried. And that's what's happening here. In this case, Elisha, he burns the plow. He makes a feast out of his team of oxen. He leaves his parents behind to go accept a calling from God. In other words, he knew he couldn't keep holding the old plow and take hold of the new mantle. He burned the plow. There's maybe one of you here who God's calling you to absolutely just quit your job, quit your career, burn that plow, and take hold of the mantle of ministry and go into something completely different direction. You have a big opportunity to serve in ministry, to radically change the direction of your life, to be in vocational ministry, to quit the marketplace and just go full-time into ministry. That's what Elisha's doing. Maybe there's one person here, that's you. God's just yes, I can do that. I can quit that grind and I can just full-time serve the Lord. If that's you, I just want you to see this direct transfer, this principle. Take the mantle, burn the plow. This applies to you. But for the rest of you, 99% of you, you're not called to quit your job. Don't hear me saying, Pastor told me to quit my job. See you, boss. You don't do that. Your family's not going to do well if you just quit your daily job. You can't do that. But what he's calling you to do is to drop something ordinary to pick up something extraordinary, to let go of a plow to pick up a mantle. For you, the plow, you feel like I'm tired of working, but maybe for you, the plow isn't just going to work. It's like a plow of consumerism. You're not just working to pay bills. You're working to save up and say, I got to buy this thing, and then I got to buy that thing, and I'm going to work overtime to earn more, to buy more. And that's just the plow you're holding, and it's just you're trying to earn more and get more and acquire more and accumulate. That's your plow. And it's keeping you from grabbing the mantle that God's put on your shoulders. For some of you, the mantle is like a perfect home, and you just got to have everything fixed up, and the family's got to be perfect, and I work so hard, everything being perfection, that I'm not grabbing hold of the mantle God has for me. I just keep holding the plow that I expect culture has for me, keeping a perfect home. Some of you have a plow that's like a hobby. This hobby just takes up a ton of time. And there's nothing wrong with a hobby. The only thing is when you have a scheduling conflict, do I serve God or do I do this hobby? The hobby always wins in the schedule. And it could be the other way around. Well, I'm going to put the hobby over here on the back burner, serve God a bit, and then he's going to take priority in my calendar. But for you, that hobby is your plow. It's keeping you from holding the mantle. These aren't bad things. Notice, nothing wrong with earning money, even extra money. Nothing wrong with spending. Nothing wrong with hobbies. Nothing wrong with perfect home. These are all good things. But it's possible for a good thing to keep you from a better thing. It's possible to hold something good and never grab hold of something better. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're holding a plow. There's nothing wrong with a plow. You need a plow. Field's got to be plowed. But you can't hold that plow and grab the mantle. And for you, there's a plow that you're holding that is keeping you from grabbing that mantle. What is it for you? I named 3 of them, but maybe that's not yours. You've got a 4th one that comes straight to your mind. You're holding this plow. It's keeping you from the mantle that God's put on your shoulders, that he's called you to in this life. You can't grab hold of the new thing until you let go of that old thing. Number 3, you're going to see here in Elisha that the path to power runs through service. And Elijah, he took hold of the mantle, he accepted God's call, and he took Elijah's place as prophet of Israel. He's performing miracles, he's telling off evil kings, little kids are coming up, I want to be Elisha for Halloween, no more Elijah, right? Which of these happened?
None of that.
None of them. None of those things happened. Let's see what really happened in verse 21, second part of verse 21. Then he went with Elijah as his
Assistant.
you don't even want to say it. His
assistant.
Not even that.
Like he's not even a prophet. He's not even an assistant prophet. He's the assistant to the prophet. That's not glamorous. That's not. Why did I put down the plow to be an assistant to the prophet? He's not stepping into the spotlight. He's stepping into servanthood. And I hope you see that before God trusts someone with influence, he tests them in humble service. Before we will be given much, we must be faithful with a little. Before Jesus picked up a cross, he picked up a towel. And before Elisha did great miracles, he carried bags for Elijah. It wasn't glamorous. It was service. His path to power is running through service. And before I became a Christian, I went to Christian college to learn how to be a better Christian, how to take up the mantle that God put on my shoulders. I want to go to Christian college and pick up the extraordinary life that God had called me to. And so I spent that first weekend at college hanging out with guys in the dorms. But I realized pretty quickly that, taking up the mantle, I can't just be sitting here every weekend playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater on the PlayStation with these guys. God's called me to something greater. I got to let go of that plow. So second weekend, I went back to my hometown to party with old friends from high school. And I was just like, what are you doing? Like, who goes home to your hometown and hang out with friends from high school? You're in college now. You got to do something greater and different. So the third weekend, I went looking for new people to party with at my new college. And I want to make a bunch of new friends, have a good friend group, be kind of big deal, popular. And what was I doing? I'm wasting the extraordinary life God's called me to and just holding an old plow. I just want to be liked and be social. And my plow was social scenes, parties, trying to have a group of friends, be popular. That's just a plow I was holding. There's nothing wrong with making friends. That's just a plow I'm holding. It's something mundane and ordinary. The fourth week of college, I signed up to serve with the inner city campus. The campus had an inner city youth ministry that goes downtown and does youth ministry with city kids. And so that weekend, I thought there'd be some training for a few weeks. They're like, oh, get in the car. You're coming right now. And I rode downtown with the nerdiest Christians I'd ever met. These were not the cool party Christians. They were just nerds for 2 hours. We're stuck in traffic, 2 hours. And they had me hanging out. They're like, They were mostly girls. They're like, oh, finally a guy leader. We need you because there's this kid. You're going to hang out with this kid. This kid was from the projects. He was troubled. He had fetal alcohol syndrome. He was the toughest kid, and they made me hang out with him the whole night. And it wasn't that bad. There was something about a male-to-male connection there. And that's what I did on that Friday night. It wasn't glamorous. It was humbling. But what did I do? I grabbed hold of the mantle that God had put on my shoulders, this mantle of service, and it wasn't glamorous or glorious. I was not a big deal in ministry, in the city, in my college. I was not a big deal. The path to power went through that humble service. I did that humble service for 7 hours every Friday. 7 hours. For 4 years. 7 hours. That was a lot of just humble service. And there was not... I wasn't even that good at it. I wasn't like a kid magnet. You know, some people are just kid magnets. Kids are attracted to them. They're just really good at youth ministry. I wasn't that. I wasn't street smart like some of the other youth leaders. And I couldn't rap to impress the inner city kids. I couldn't crip walk like some of them. I was so ordinary. But you know what my best ability was?
Consistency.
Availability. Like my absolute best ability was availability. And let me tell you, as a leader of ministries and servants in ministry, that is the best ability that you can bring to ministry. The best ability you have and that you can bring is just availability. Be consistent, be humble, and be there for the people who need Jesus the most. Stop chasing things of this world. Start picking up the mantle. Take hold of the mantle that God's put on your shoulders. And you got to let go of that plow, grab hold of the mantle, and that means you're not chasing platforms, you're not chasing power or popularity, you're just embracing service. The path to that power and opportunity influence, it runs right through serving. And find your Elijah and serve faithfully under your Elijah. Your Elisha, you got to find someone to serve under and serve with. Someone probably looked at Elisha back then and said, you traded an upper middle class job, gave up the right to your daddy's farm, so you could carry bags for Elijah? What are you thinking? In the same way, someone's going to ask you, you traded in that hobby so that you could hang out with kids? You gave up your side hustle so that you could do unpaid labor for your church? You're going to say, no, this isn't unpaid labor for my church. It's unpaid labor for my Jesus. There's a difference, and this is the mantle that God's put on my shoulders. I'm picking up an extraordinary life and laying down something ordinary to do it. And so the path to greatness, you're going to say this, is paved through service. And I'm walking on the pavement of service to the extraordinary life God's called me to. And God's going to say that the greatest among you is the servant of all. That's what he said. It's true about you. And you walk the path of service to become the greatest in his kingdom. Do we believe it?
Yes.
Let me just recap what we talked about. We talked about how there's a daily grind. 90% of what we do every day is just the same old thing all day, every day. We talked about how life with God can seem kind of boring. Because again, we're just as a Christian, we're doing the same old things every day that most non-Christians do the same things every day too. What's the difference? A lot of us are feeling stuck. We want to get unstuck. Even in our faith, we want to get unstuck. Get out of the routine. Get something extraordinary. So we asked, how does God turn our daily grind into a divine purpose? And then we looked at Elisha. We looked at 1 Kings 19. We saw that God calls you right where you are. Did that with Elisha, so he does with you too. You can't take a new mantle and keep the old plow. That's a principle from the scriptures that applies to us. We see that the path to power runs through service. That was my path. That's your path too. Serve until the least becomes the greatest. The bottom line is that you can be like Elisha. He was ordinary. Right now, you're in a field. You're just in something ordinary. He's calling you to something extraordinary, and you can be like him. You can answer the call. You can burn the plow. You can serve God's plan for your life. I believe that God's put a mantle on your shoulders. He has one just for you. What is that mantle he's putting on your shoulders? He's calling you to something bigger than that field you're standing in. That's great news. He's not just calling you to a daily grind. You pass away like 90% of people on this earth before you. He's calling you to something bigger than that field. What is it? And he's calling you to let go of that old plow that you've been holding on to, the one that most people want to embrace for comfort. That's what you're going to let go of to follow something new and extraordinary. Some of you need to hear this, but you have one foot in church, one foot in God, and you have the other foot in the world, and just what's ever secular and mundane and the daily grind. You kind of got one foot in each. And I got to congratulate you, because most people don't even have one foot in what's right. But that's kind of where you are. You're just have one foot in each camp, one foot in faith, one foot in fear, one foot in calling, one foot in complacency and in comfort. You're kind of standing on two boats that are just wobbling. And I want to lovingly challenge you to answer this question, to get one foot out of that one boat and into the other. I want to lovingly challenge you with this question, and I just want you to answer it for yourself with just a real world example. How would you answer this question? The question is, what plow do you need to burn so that you can follow Jesus? What plow do you need to burn so that you can follow Jesus? For me, the plow was trying to party every weekend and do video games and stuff, like trying to be a big deal, trying to be a big shot. That was my plow. I had to burn it. But what is that plow for you? Just name it in your mind. What is it? The second question that I want you to answer for yourself is, what's one mantle of service that God wants me to pick up? For me, God wanted me to pick up the mantle of youth ministry. I had to put down the plow of popularity, pick up the mantle of youth ministry. But what is that for you? What's the plow he's calling you to burn? What's the mantle he's calling you to pick up for you? What is it? I've asked you to think about it. I've asked you to name it. I'm asking you to take one more step of faith, and that's to text it. I know it sounds weird, but when we do this, we're just kind of putting it out in the world. Because I know what happens is we think, and then we decide, and then we hesitate, and then we don't do it. You do it all the time. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, what? Okay, I hesitated, and I forgot to do it. This time, instead of hesitating, text your answer to one of these questions to that church phone number on the screen. You can use the QR code. It'll pull it right up. This time, instead of hesitating and not doing it, this time text it and see what happens when you commit to that decision that God's put in your mind and ultimately in your heart. Make it real. Do something physical to confirm something spiritual that God's put on your heart in this moment, in this hour, in this field that you're standing in. What does he put on your heart? In obedience to Jesus and this teaching, we're going to move into a time of communion. Let me just read to you the scriptures. It says that the Lord Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, "This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it in remembrance of me. For whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes." After that whole long speech, Jesus had a warning. This is recorded in the scriptures, a warning to not take communion with the wrong condition of heart, to really do a spiritual checkup as we do this communion. He says everyone ought to examine themselves before they eat of the bread and drink from the cup. And so I invite you to come to the table. I invite you to participate in the Last Supper of Jesus Christ. But I invite you to check and even correct the condition of your heart right before you come up to do this. Ask yourself, is there still this plow that I'm holding on to? And it's kind of been keeping me stuck in the grind, stuck in faith. As I walk up, as I grab these communion elements, I'm leaving that plow behind. I'm walking forward to a new mantle as I pick up these elements. Today, as you take these elements, let consuming these elements be a physical act of something spiritual that's going on inside of you. During the song, I invite you to come forward, come through the center aisle here, pick it up over here, return your seat through the side aisle. If you try to fight your way back this flow, it's not going to work. I'm warning you, it's not going to work. Okay. Return to your seat. You can take the communion there when you're ready. If you have kids with you, help them do this. Help them maybe say the words, understand what they're doing, do it together. I just invite you, you can take this communion individually or with the people you came with. Either is all right. I want to invite you to stand with me. And as I leave the stage, ask yourself, what did I decide today? What am I going to do about it? How am I doing something physical to confirm something spiritual that I decided today?